going through Frederick Sound at the moment, and a lot of people have told us that this place is filled with humpback whales. And true, we've already seen about 5, but they're all pop up and then they disappear, and we haven't got any good photos yet, but we're hoping. As we came into anchor in this little bay, we saw 3 black bears walking along the shore. We dropped the dinghy and just snuck up to this one. Yeah, we've never been so close to a black bear before. It's exciting. Trying to get into Petersburg, and there's looks like about 3 or 4 knots of current trying to keep us out of Petersburg, but we're ever so slowly going in. So the water's racing past, but we're just not getting anywhere. Well, today was a lot more difficult than it was supposed to be coming into Petersburg. It was supposed to take us 6 hours to do about 40 miles, and it ended up taking us 12 hours. 6:30 in the morning till now, 6:30 in the evening. Just because this crazy headwind, 15-20 knots of headwind sprung up out of nowhere, and that created waves, and we're going straight into it, and then the current turned and was going against us, and we were trying to find, like, if you go closer, do you get a back eddy in the current, or do you go further out, and we were slowing down to like 2 knots, and nightmare. But we finally got in, and it's a relief to be here now. We've got the heater on and we're drying everything off. So it's raining all day. What a difference the sunshine makes. It's beautiful. Petersburg, jam full of boats. That's the state ferry, runs all the way from Canada, all the way up the Inside Passage up to Skagway or somewhere up in Alaska. Great.
There's like a parade of 7 fishing boats just heading out of Petersburg. It's great to watch.
Petersburg has a lot of links with Norway. A guy called Peter was the first guy to start a cannery here. Norwegian, and now there's all like Norwegian flags everywhere, and they celebrate Norwegian independence, and yeah, it's quite a cool little subculture.
We had dinner last night with Bridget. She's the wife of one of the fishermen that we met in Dura Harbour like 2 summers ago when we were waiting out this crazy storm. So it was cool, and she lent us this big truck. So now we're going to go and explore around Petersburg and see the different sites.
Here we can get some free ice up here for our ice box. So this ice is frozen seawater, so apparently it'll last longer than normal ice. And it's just free for all the fishermen to take, so it'll go well to keep our ice box temperature down.
So our ice box is now totally filled with ice. We put all our yummy stuff around it, like sausages and some smoked salmon that our friend Bridget gave us. Yum! But yeah, I should keep our things nice and cold for a long time yet. So after our short stay in Petersburg, we headed out towards Wrangell. It's about a 40-mile passage, and 20 miles of that is going through what's called the Wrangell Narrows, which is quite a notorious little passage between 2 islands. It's known for being very narrow, as the name suggests, but also quite shallow. It's so narrow and shallow that a lot of the big cruise boats can't actually get through this little bit of passage. So that was a relief that we didn't have to look out for them, but there were 60 marker buoys that we had to kind of navigate through and around. But the hardest bit is to get the currents and tides kind of right. So we talked to a lot of different locals and read everything that we could, and I think we timed it pretty perfectly. thank goodness. But after we left the Narrows, there was still another 20 miles to Wrangell, where we didn't have as good a luck with the tides and currents. But yeah, in a 40-mile passage, it's hard to get everything perfect. So we arrived at Wrangell just on dark. Most of the day was a bit rainy and misty, just like most of the days that we've had in Alaska. So it's now about 12:30 and we seriously haven't even been able to get off the boat. This dock at Wrangell is just so friendly. Everyone keeps kind of knocking on the hole and saying hi, and we got invited over to breakfast on this beautiful big power boat this morning, and it was so delicious. And then this one lady, she was kind of staring at the boat, so we popped our head out and said hi, and she was like, "Oh my god, I've been following you guys for like 3 years on YouTube," and she was so excited to come on board. But yeah, we've just been meeting people all morning. We haven't had a chance to go into town yet. It's just been manic.
Look at this old totem pole. So amazing, all the different animals they've morphed in there.
So we've got this really cool Rode Link microphone that's allowing you to hear me even though I'm on the sailboat and Chris is in the little dinghy. So it's like a little wireless microphone but connects straight into the camera. So it's all linked up when I do the video editing a bit later. It's really, really cool stuff. So this morning when we woke up, we looked outside our window and there was a gigantic cruise ship. I'm pretty sure there's more passengers on that cruise ship than the population of the entire town of Wrangell. It's pretty ginormous. I'm pretty sure everyone is living the life of luxury up there, but they're not seeing and doing all the fun and cool stuff like we are. So I think we've got the better end of the deal.
So from Wrangell, we went to Annan Bay. We were lucky to get a permit just for one day there. It's a pretty famous bear viewing place. Pretty overcast, rainy kind of day, but nonetheless, really cool. So there's all these viewing platforms where you can stand there and get a really cool view down at the bears, both black and brown bears catching salmon. And it was just amazing to see them all there fighting for the different positions to catch the salmon, all the different techniques for how they were catching them, the little cubs around. And towards the end of the day, yeah, we got some brown bears, a mum and 3 little cubs. It was amazing.
Look at that load of shrimp. Just giving some of these shrimps to the rangers. I'm sure they'll appreciate that. They said they caught a halibut the other day. They're impressed, but I reckon they love it. We just got woken up by a charter boat going past telling us that they have 2 extra permits that they're not being used for Annan Bay this morning. So we can go ashore and photograph for a second day of bears, which is great, except all our batteries are flat and everything from yesterday. So we're now running the engine to charge up all the batteries and getting ready to go ashore for a second day.
That second day was even better than the first. There was more sunlight, so it was easier to get better photos. And I guess we'd started to learn all the best vantage points as well, where the bears sit to catch the most number of salmon and things, so we can kind of anticipate the best photos. And there were so many salmon swimming up the rivers, and we got lots of cool photos of the bears with, you know, big salmon hanging out of their mouths and that kind of stuff. We also saw an otter. It was our first proper, like a river otter rather than a sea otter.
So we're back at Annan Bay today, and as you can see, this is what it's kind of normally like during the day. Loads of people, and you get half an hour in the blind before it kind of rotates to another group of people. We're pretty lucky though. If you get here early enough, you get like the whole place to yourself for the first 3 hours, which is what we've done for the last 2 days. It just kind of gets a little bit busier in the afternoon, but it's still a great photo opportunity.
So here we are in Myers Chuck. Bit of a mission to get here this morning, pulling up our anchor in Annan Bay, hand pulling up the about 100-foot anchor from the front, and then about 200 feet deep anchor off the stern. Took forever. And then our shrimp pod, but we got some more shrimp, so that was good. And then about 6 hours to here. We had to wake at 3:30 in the morning to catch the current. And now looking at the weather, unfortunately I don't think we can stay here the night. We should push on and do another 6 or 7 hours tonight to get towards Ketchikan. Otherwise there's an open stretch we've got to do before Prince Rupert, and there's a bit of a storm coming for that if we wait. So I'm gonna head off again. It looks like a cute little place though.
This morning's about the first morning we've woken up and it hasn't been raining. It's been about 2 weeks of rain non-stop. But we're in Refuge Cove. We were going to try and get into Ketchikan last night, but it was just getting too dark, so we stopped a little cove about 5 miles ahead of Ketchikan. And today we're off to Foggy Bay. It'll be our last stop in the United States before we cross the border to Canada.
Well, we're just passing Ketchikan, full of cruise ships. There's a whole line of them. They're enormous. But yeah, it's so busy around this port as well. It feels like I'm sailing through an airport. There's float planes taking off about every 30 seconds. jets and car ferries going to the airport, boats everywhere. A little bit more excitement than we've ever had on teleport, I think.
So we didn't quite make it to Foggy Bay as we originally planned, but we did make it to this little place, which is Car Shakes Cove. Beautiful little anchorage, about 10 miles away from Foggy Bay. It got a little bit lumpy out there and a bit of a headwind, so we decided to call it quits a little bit earlier and enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. So we got smoked salmon given to us by Bridget from Petersburg, very lovely, with Philadelphia cream cheese and biscuits and game of cards and a last drink. This will be our last night in the USA and probably our last night at anchor as well, so lots of things to celebrate.
So I'm trying to work out what time is best to leave tomorrow to get into Canada, basically, but it's just like this on all the passage plannings we have to do every day trip because of the currents that they race in and out of here. And it's not always just that they flow in a logical way when the tide gets higher or lower, but if you've got a long thin inlet and the tide's rising, some of the inlets the tide rises from both ends, so you get a current coming in at both ends, and then they meet in the middle, and then when the tide falls they both go out in the same direction. So you've got to kind of time yourself to hit the beginning of the passage when the tide's flowing in and you get sucked in to the halfway point, but you've got to be at the halfway point at the height of the tide, so when the tide drops you then get sucked out the far side, because if you don't make it in time you get halfway in and then the tide will turn, then you get sucked back out. Or like, and some of the currents here are like 3 knots, 4 knots, which is as fast as we can motor anyway, so if we get it wrong we just sit there going boom, 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 and going nowhere. And then for a passage like tomorrow, which is about almost 60 miles, it's really hard to work out how fast we'll be going to get to all these different points when the tide turns, and you know, they don't all link up. So you're like, okay, from this section we're going to be against the tide, so we might be going 2 knots for this bit, and therefore it'll take 5 hours to get to this bit, but then you get there and then there's wind against you as well and you're even slower, or you're faster, or it's really hard to work out when to leave. But basically the theory tomorrow is to leave really, really early because we've got a long way to go. We should be able to catch the current out at about 5 in the morning. Look! We just passed from Alaska into Canada. Better go put the Canadian flag up and our quarantine Q flag. Last time we crossed into Canada was from Greenland back in 2011. So we've now actually cruised along the entire length of the Alaskan coastline, all the way over the top and down the side. But good to be back in Canada. Well, it's been fun being in Alaska, but now it's time to go to Canada. Ever since we crossed into Canadian waters, we've got beautiful sunshine and it's just so relaxing and lovely on board. We've even been joined by a little passenger. Look, we've got a little dragonfly. He's been sitting on me for about the past half hour. But yeah, this is our last little passage for the season. We're going to end up in Prince Rupert in a couple of hours and that'll be it. Beautiful end sail. Motor.